is a great day for me. My name is Catherine Michaud. I live in Duxbury, have lived here for 16 years and moved to this property 1.5 years ago. And it's been a very exciting adventure just being here because I love the natural setting, I love the many trees, and I enjoy the birds and all sorts of other wildlife coming through, including coyotes, foxes, white-tailed deer, to mention just a few. Then I heard about Judy's summer house event to celebrate Rachel Carson. And I attended it, and that's where I met Peter. And I got even more excited about the idea of, identifying what plants are good native plants and which ones are invasive, or which there are many on this property. My plan is to make it to create a native garden that has mostly only native plants and gradually eliminate the invasive plants. So that's the big plan. I also want to create a meadow, which is slowly growing but is nowhere close to what it should be. And eventually I would like to be able to quantify what I've done by finding out, more species of butterflies, maybe more birds, and enjoy the beauty of it. But the plan is to really keep it natural, make it even more natural.
My name is Peter Alden, naturalist from Concord, Mass. Grew up in the shadow of Henry David Thoreau. And I've mainly been a bird watcher my whole life and traveled all over the world showing birds to everybody. In the 1990s, when I came back to my hometown of Concord, and I am from the Duxbury Aldens way back, I was very concerned on all these new plants growing around me that I did not remember as a child attempting to grow up unsuccessfully in Concord. Then I found out that most of these new plants that I did not recognize had fruits that the birds were eating. And you might think, that's great, we're providing new food, new fruit for the birds before they fatten up and head south to Costa Rica for the winter. But then when you think about it a little bit more, the fruits that they're eating were being pooped out by the birds. Birds do sort of a 1.5, most birds, and spreading these things all over the place. And then we notice the understory of our forests are getting full of these new plants. What we're going to do on some of the invasive plants here, that it's her decision on whether to remove or let them go for now. We're going to put a number and a 2-letter code. This is a wall of there's a couple of similar species of Oriental honeysuckles. And I'm sure that Catherine loves the beauty and the smell and the fragrance of the honeysuckle flowers, which come out around Memorial Day. They're sort of white and turn yellow. And then that's followed in July with some little red fruits, which the catbirds and the other birds eat and spread all over the place. So we're going to put a number 1 and an OH for an Oriental honeysuckle bush. And there's a couple of similar species here. And the horticultural value is the wonderful smelling flowers, and many people think they're native here, but they're not. These honeysuckles all come from what we call Northeast Asia, and we're just going to put this here on a conspicuous spot. They have very hollow stems. You can break them apart very easily, and the inside of the stems would be hollow on the Oriental honeysuckle. So they provide a lot of fruit for some birds, especially the catbird. This is another problem. There's a couple of similar species. Most of these are called burning bushes. Burning bushes. A technical name is winged euonymus. They often have wings along the stems. The winged euonymus, or AKA burning bush, has been the #1 money maker for most of the garden and landscape industry here in Massachusetts, particularly in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Its horticultural value is the brilliant red leaves that often stay on the bush late September, particularly October, for many, many weeks. And it's commonly planted around our big box stores. Most McMansions have a row of these growing along there for that autumn brilliant red foliage. Unfortunately, in September, before the foliage comes out, there are little orange fruits that hang down, And we call those ecological time bombs, because the birds will eat those little orange fruits and then they'll fly around wherever they're flying and poop it all out, and up comes more burning bush. I know I'm not in Concord, northwest of Boston now, because we have an invasive that is restricted to the Cape and the islands and the south coast of Massachusetts at the moment. It's another honeysuckle in the same genus as those bush honeysuckles that have the pretty little white then yellow flowers in May. But instead of having 2 red or orange fruits, it has 1 black fruit, and this is known as the Japanese honeysuckle, and it's a vine, not a bush. And it is really taking over places like Nantucket and parts of the Cape. I'm sort of a little surprised to see it up here in Duxbury, but with our gradually warming climate and the spreading of some of these things, it is coming up. But this is a vine honeysuckle from Japan, again called Japanese honeysuckle. Very pretty flowers for a few weeks in May, June, and a big nuisance otherwise.